What's going on, guys? Today we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs from last season, yesterday, and we're going to chat a little bit about the four games that happened, and more importantly, give you a free pick for my sports betting um, picks that I have for tomorrow and tonight specifically. So let's start with the Heat Bucks game, and this is something new I'm going to try. Let me know if you guys like it, don't like it. So let's start with Heat versus Bucks. So the Bucks won 109-107 in overtime. The late game execution here was pivotal for the Bucks, and I think the addition of Drew Holiday has already been a big factor here. He had that key block um, on Jimmy Butler trying to hit a mid-range jumper to tie the game, and Middleton had that game-winning jumper with 0.5 seconds left over Duncan Robinson. And speaking of Duncan Robinson, he had a huge game with 24 points. We're seeing him really come onto the scenes here. He had 7 threes as well. They really struggled guarding him in dribble handoffs with Bam Adebayo, especially on that second screen. And I felt like Brook Lopez had a tough time in that situation. And that's when we saw the Bucks sort of adjust in the third quarter and fourth quarter, putting less attention on him per se and more putting Giannis to the 5 so that Lopez didn't have to go through those situations as much. Another late game situation we saw was Giannis hurt his elbow late in this game, but he seemed all right. Seemed like he was just playing off with that and seemed like he was okay. But that's something to keep our eyes for in game 2 because he's obviously their pivotal player, their best player. But I think the Bucks, they only shot 5 of 31 from 3 and they still won this game. So it's going to be a difficult situation for Miami to come back in this series. They definitely can do it. But the question is, can they get more out of Jimmy Butler? How much can he do for them, especially with a guy like Drew Holiday guarding him, Giannis, and Middleton as well? They've got a lot of bodies defensively to throw at them. I think there could be a blowout next game, considering how close this game was with the Bucks shooting so poorly and the Heat shooting so much better as well. I think Giannis needs to work on his free throw shooting as well, as the comments are saying, because he's really struggling with late game free throw situations, especially. That's when it seems like he's the worst at shooting them, and it could really cost his team games in this playoff run. This was an amazing game, by the way. I think if you haven't watched it, you really should. I had a parlay of under 227 and the Heat plus 4.5, so I hit on that one, which was a really, really good game. Really good hit there. Next game that we're going to talk about is Mavericks Clippers. So the Mavs won 113-103. I think this was a surprising win for me personally. The Clippers defense was not good late in this game. They were trying to trap Luka, but he's a tall guard with really good vision, so he was able to pass it down into the low post to a guy like Porzingis, who was able to capitalize really late in this game. We saw a late game play with under a minute left where he just tossed it on a double team right down to him. He was wide open and just dunked it. So it seems like their defense is struggling to guard Luka, and the role guys played well, right? With Luka having 31, he was unstoppable. But for me, the big story here was the role players chipping in a lot. We had Brunson with 15 off the bench, Finney Smith with 18, Hardaway Jr. had 24, and Porzingis had 14. I see a pandemic P in the chat. I don't really think that's the case. He actually had an okay game. I think he's playing well. Let's give him a little more time here and wait for him to have a dud. I think he had like 23 in this game. He didn't shoot great, but one guy's asking for a Toronto Raptors update. There isn't much to update. I think they're just having contract negotiations with Masai Ujiri. Not much coming out right now from the grapevine. I'm going to do a draft stuff next week, so you're going to get a lot of content there, but nothing right now to talk about with the Raptors. But I'm not worried about the Clippers after this loss. They shot 11 of 40 from 3, and I felt the role guys didn't play well. There needs to be some more Serge Ibaka as well in this game. The next game was the Nets beat the Celtics 104-93. This was a big miss for the Celtics because this felt like a must-win game if they wanted to make this some kind of series. I predicted Nets in 4, and I don't think there's much hope for them. In the first half, the Nets were just playing poor offensively, and honestly, their big three really struggled for the New York Nets, and they started to click in that third quarter. I think they outscored the Celtics by 11 in that quarter, and they ended up finishing with 82 points, which is only 11 less than the Celtics had in this entire game. So, in my opinion, like I said, there's not much hope for the Celtics. Basketball Inc. said the Blazers Nuggets game was nice. Yeah, let's talk about that one. That was a really good game. One interesting thing that I felt as a Raptors fan was that Norman Powell wasn't playing late in this fourth quarter. Instead, they had Anthony Simons out there, who was given this opportunity because he was playing a really good game. Damian Lillard went crazy in the second half, finishing with 34 points in this one, and we really saw him school Campazzo here. This is where we can see the Nuggets' lack of guard depth being an issue, right, without Jamal Murray in the series. This was a big question for me and why I picked the Blazers to win, specifically in 7 games. And I think Nurkic did a really good job of game planning Jokic, and the way the Blazers really did it was playing him straight up. And I felt that Jokic was, even though he's averaging a triple-double the last month, he only finished with 1 assist in this game. And we know Jokic wants to be a passer, and the game plan worked out where Jokic still had 34 and 16, but they were able to manage the rest of the role guys. Like I said, Campazzo and Austin Rivers, they've got to step up. They didn't really give them much from the guard perspective. And Michael Porter Jr., despite having 25 points, he took 21 shots and was 1 of 10 from 3. I don't think the Nuggets are lost in this series. I think that they can definitely do better because they shot 11 of 36 from 3, and they're one of the better three-point shooting teams, led by Jokic's playmaking. I think Michael Porter Jr. needs to shoot better, and Austin Rivers and Campazzo need to give them a little bit more to try and offset CJ or Dame a little bit more than they did. And before I give you my free pick, let's take a look at the chat. I see a couple of other questions here. One says how sad and it's sad how unstoppable KD, Kyrie, and Harden are. It's like if one struggles, they still have 2 options. Yeah, that's 100% true. If one of them struggles or 2 of them struggles, there's no question that they're still going to give a really good offensive output. And Blazers in 7, I agree. I think it is Blazers in 7. We'll see the Nuggets probably bounce back next game, but here's my free parlay. If you're a sports bettor, I'm using Bodog because they're a sponsor of my Instagram, but essentially here's my pick. My parlay between the Jazz to win minus 420, parlayed with over 217 points at minus 110. This gives plus 136 odds. So if you bet $10, you'd win 1360. And the reason I think this is a great value bet is because if the Jazz are going to win this game, it's not going to be a grit and grind type of Grizzlies game. It's going to be the Utah Jazz doing it on both ends, hitting a lot of threes, and scoring a bunch of points. And I think that even if the Grizzlies get blown out, they'll still cover 217. That's not very high, where we could see the Jazz put up 130 points, and there's no question they're going to blow past this 217, in my opinion. And Jazz to win as well is the perfect parlay to give you plus odds on this one. And I think it's a great value bet. So there's your free pick. I have another one for the game coming up. I see another thing in the chat, Jazz in 4 or 5. Yeah, I picked Jazz in 4, but they could win another game. There is no question that the Memphis Grizzlies are a team that shows a lot of heart and could win a game, maybe the 3rd game or something. But I think the Jazz come in, take care of business. They've had a lot of failures in the past with their playoff runs, so I think they're looking to come out of the gate strong and show them that this is a different team from last year. Thank you guys for coming in. I appreciate all you guys in the chat right now and everyone who watches this. Make sure to subscribe for more content. Trying something new for the playoffs. We're going to try and come on here every morning and chat about the scores from these games. Thanks again. I will see you guys tomorrow.